Hey, everybody, welcome back to Too Many Men. My name is Alison Lucan, and I am delighted, as always, to be joined by the simply adorable, lights up my day just to see her wonderful face. She's so cute, she's so smart, and I spent a not insignificant amount of time raving about her to the Carolina Hurricanes radio uh, commentator, I think is what his job is, but he was lovely. The completely underutilized because she is so brilliant, Sara Sivian. Sara, how are you?
Oh, I'm great now. I'm delighted after the Kraken win and ready to talk about that.
Ooh, go Kraken.
Yeah.
Kraken era. We, of course, would not be Too Many Men if we didn't have the equally stunning. Her smile just lights up my day. She's so cute. Her little cheeks get nice and pink, and it makes me happy. But brilliant in not just hockey ways, but in numbers ways and business ways. I'm constantly impressed by her. And then she goes and rips off a fantastic Halloween costume as well. Shayna Goldman. Shayna, say hi.
Hi. Wow, you really brighten our days. It's amazing.
Seriously.
Well, thank you. And we brighten each other's days. That's what women do is we lift each other up. We straighten each other's crowns. That's what we're here for. All right. But enough about that because we have so much to discuss. Hockey season is in full top gear. Sara, Benny Drawbars, we need our soundbite. What time is it?
It's time for Little News. We're nothing without Benny.
We're gonna make a compilation at the end of the year. I have to remember to do this of just the attempts and the
Yeah.
silence too, because I feel like if like you're listening, you just hear silence. Like we see every time Sarah is trying to make noise, and the
Trying to
technology won't
create,
allow it.
make some noise, trying to create an environment here. Doesn't always work.
It is time for Bit O News, like Sara said. Let's get started. Some big news coming out just yesterday. It is Wednesday as we record this. But the PWHL has announced that it will expand with two more teams. It sounds like the target is the 25-26 season. What I read implied it could potentially be more quick, but I think that seems like a much more reasonable goal from a business and execution perspective. We don't know much more than that yet, but it is great to see that the league feels that they can continue to expand and continue to provide more and more roster spots, more and more coaching opportunities, more and more broadcasting and reporting opportunities, hopefully. Shayna, you are the go-to when it comes to women's hockey at all levels. Everyone should be following your coverage on that. Can't miss thoughts and knowledge. Tell us what you know, and if it's not much more than what we know now, what your thoughts are.
Yeah, it's not a ton more, but it's an exciting time for women's hockey. It's nice that they don't want to rush this because I think everything else got rushed and it was chaotic and you don't need that. You want to do things at the right pace because the PWHL is going to have a long history and a long ways to go. So there's time for more expansion. But there are so many talented players out there. And that was the biggest thing, right? When it was going down to one league and it was going to be six teams, that a lot of great players would not get a roster spot. This is going to open the doors to that. And I think it's just going to keep encouraging players to understand that this is a true profession that you can have and you can go through the college ranks and then become a pro player. So it'll be great because there are definitely cities out there that want a hockey team. And you can already see it, right? Like teams like Pittsburgh and Detroit are so enthusiastic about the women's game and supporting it. And a place like Calgary, I think, is a perfect home for it. There's all these opportunities to start slowly shifting west, and then we can see a full expansion as the years go on.
That's what I was going to ask you, Sara. I have seen some excitement, and obviously I'm out west, so people were saying bring a team here, but we've talked about this that logistically we might have to wait on that because you'd have to bring both teams out here to maybe reduce even some of the travel, and that still might be too much until there's a bigger handful of teams out west. When you consider all the logistics, all the business considerations, but also demand, what are your thoughts, Sara, on where you'd place these next two teams if it was your call?
I mean, Pittsburgh makes so much sense. You saw the noise the whole world made for the team when the event happened there. Sorry, I'm kind of rambling there, but there's a multifaceted thing there. I mean, you got Amanda Kessel, you've got Oh my God, my lovely friend Michelle, who went to MSU and she's Penn's insider. Like I know she'd be so involved. There are so many powerful women involved with the Penguins and the women's game in Pittsburgh. And there's been so many like youth initiatives, and they have so many unreal facilities there that are spread out. I could see them playing at the Cranberry practice center. And
Hmm.
it's just like, I don't know. I love the vision there. I love Original Six Detroit. And I mean, I think about maybe Quebec City where they're playing, they're doing a matchup there soon. I'm excited to see maybe like if Quebec City can't have an NHL team, like there's so many passionate fans there. It's like that's not, oh my God, I guess they could get a PWHL team, but that would be like a successful endeavor, in my opinion.
Imagine a pro women's team in Detroit where the University of Michigan can't seem to find its way to have an
Yeah.
actual women's program, but I digress. Here we are. Anyway, it's going to be very exciting. We'll be following that. Again, follow Shayna for all the news there. She's our go-to with that, and we can't get enough of it. Back on the men's side of the game, and this happened a little bit ago, but I have thoughts. They've announced or released, I guess I should say, the Four Nations Face Off, which again, that name is just god awful. The Four Nations Face Off sweaters that will be worn in February, and people have takes. Sara, you are our fashion guru. What's your favorite and least favorite of these four? Tell us what you think.
Oh my God, it's just also basic, but I guess that's just what a Four Nations jersey should be, right? I kind of love that Sweden's always like, don't fuck with us. Like, we're not gonna have you guys come in and mess this up. So that's my favorite. Least favorite's Canada. I don't know. They just like try to do a little too much with the leaf. Sometimes it's like, we definitely get it. So that's where I'm at on that.
Sheena, which one are you buying for yourself and which one are you repurposing or upcycling and which one are you not touching with a 10-foot pole?
Yeah, I definitely agree. Sweden's the best because it's a classic design, right? It doesn't go wrong whether they go with the blue, whether they go with the yellow. Love it. No notes. Don't touch the design. It's perfection. It's iconic. It's everything and more. Canada, congrats on getting away from the black jerseys, right? Because I think sometimes I love a good black jersey, but I think teams overuse them, especially in hockey. Like I love the idea of like a color v color matchup or just like bright colors that draw your attention. I feel like it's easier to pay attention to a game that way. So love the red, but I see a maple leaf. I don't need to see the word Canada written out as well. I know you're Canadian. It's too much.
Like
It's
pickling.
bad. It's like a closed caption that nobody needed.
Yes.
Which one am I repurposing? I'm gonna say honestly USA because I don't hate it and I generally dislike the direction USA goes. So that would be the one to repurpose if I had to the new version of FMK it.
Excellent. Yeah, Sweden is the best for sure. And like also plus like Canada with the standard common dead in my eyes Connor McDavid headshot is just it's just so Canada that
Also,
it's
the picture's so odd. Like who is given an airbrush?
well, and did you see the one with Sidney Crosby where it's like literally his head like badly photoshopped onto it doesn't they didn't even try. They did not even try.
No.
It was terrible. So there you go, kids. You have your new jerseys if that's your thing. Let's take it now down closer to the ice. We have had this week two revenge tours. One included also a farewell tour. Let's start with the one that is maybe the first of a couple here, because this player, as far as we know, is not planning to retire this season, and that's Steven Stamkos, who returned to Tampa Bay. Unfortunately, Nashville, Stamkos's new team, does lose. They can't bring home the 2 points for one of the newest Predator players. But I thought the ceremony was really emotional. I was kind of like, people were like, oh, he held it together so well. Like, the bro looked like he was 2 seconds from bursting out in tears. I don't like, John Cooper looked like he was going to cry. But I thought it was a really nice moment. That's really it's when you always do honor players coming back, but like that's really hard to do. And so I thought it was really cool to see his teammates come out and applaud for him and John Cooper clearly affected and the fans clearly affected. We were talking about it in the Too Many Men chat. Sara, thoughts on the Stamkos return to Tampa Bay?
Oh, it was perfect. I mean, they did a real, I mean, now that I've seen it on social media, because they kept panning to everybody, I loved the actual tribute. And it really is it was really classy all around from Lightning fans. I mean, the ovation was one of the loudest ones I've ever heard on TV. I obviously respect all around, and it's so true that like he was the entire franchise before any of the winning. And you just think of the classic moments, like when he came back playing on the, what was it, the broken ankle, the broken foot, one shift, scores a goal. It's like that is the heart of the franchise. And that's a moment I'll always remember in hockey history.
Shayna, what did you think? We did have frustrations because unfortunately, the ESPN coverage didn't necessarily show all the moments that everyone said were the best. So you had to go back and find them. But Shayna, your thoughts?
Yeah, it was giving like, on the power play when ESPN will pan to the player getting off the ice and zoom in on the bench. And it's like, there's play going on. It grinds my gears. I really wish they went split screen. You have all these capabilities. Please use them for the best viewer experience. But he deserved it. Every single moment of it. His departure overall reminds me like why I would love to see like franchise tags in hockey that like if you draft a player you can maybe sign them to this huge deal and it doesn't count against the cap, something to like encourage those homegrown players to stay and be cornerstones. But I digress. I understand why Tampa Bay moved on. It sucks for Stamkos. It's a business at the end of the day, so I do want to see him thrive in Nashville. I think it was just great that he got this moment and it was done early in the season. It felt like it closed the chapter in a way that maybe everyone needed and now they can move on. But yeah, the Lightning do it right. I feel like they're a little bit ruthless on the business side, but I feel like they afterwards know how to make up for it a little bit.
The other return tour we saw was a farewell. It is, as far as we know, barring any sort of kind of crazy circumstance, Marc-Andre Fleury played his last game at PPG Paints, whatever the hell we're calling it, arena in Pittsburgh. The team where he was such a linchpin. Even Dan Bylsma was talking about him before the Kraken game yesterday. And I thought Pittsburgh did an absolutely beautiful job the whole day putting out social content. Flower was Flower, jumping into a youth hockey game out at the Cranberry facility the day before. They put together a feature highlighting some of his best pranks, which were outstanding. And then again, wonderful, rousing applause as he skated a final lap. Sidney Crosby and Malkin staying out to applaud him as well, saying, take a lap. And then just Flowers just so classy in all things. It really brought back kind of the joy of the game and just what some of these players can mean, not just in terms of their play, which Flower was amazing, obviously, for Pittsburgh and for Vegas, and now for Minnesota. But Sarah, I'm sure you took this all in. What are you taking away from this being one of the many farewells that Fleury will be making this season?
Yeah, Fleury is truly, I think, the most universally loved player in NHL history. Not one person dislikes him, except that one girl on Twitter like 3 years ago who was memed into oblivion. That was funny, and that just shows he brings up the spirit of the game, that it doesn't have to be so serious, but that you can win and have a good time and be good. I think last night was like the way the game went was hilarious. Like they were down two and then they were tied by the end of the first period. It was just kind of like he remained calm. He had that flower nature about him where he doesn't let things get too high or too low, but he will make a spectacle out of it all the same. And like when he won the first star of the game, going over and hugging Sid and Letang, it was just really adorable. I mean, perfect goodbye.
Shayna, what'd you think?
Everything was perfectly done about it. I'm really happy they got the win too. Minnesota's been a really good team this year, so that like comeback was extremely important. I was rooting for Fleury to get the win, but you can see how much he's loved there. And you're right, Sarah, like he is universally loved. He adds an element of fun to the game and personality and overall just warmth that I
Yeah.
think exudes out of him. So I love that he gets his moment. It sucks sometimes when a player announces that they're going to retire at the end of the year, and I understand why they do it. But I really do love when they, especially when they're a player like Fleury, get that farewell tour opportunity because he's someone that should get that outpouring of love around the league, especially in Pittsburgh. So I thought they did it great. I thought that he got to have his moment at the end of the game, and there's so many players still in Pittsburgh there to hype him up. I also appreciated how no one wanted to pull any pranks on him because they didn't want him to retaliate.
Yeah, awesome.
And yeah, thank you for correcting me. It was Malkin out there too. It was Letang and
Yeah,
Crosby. I know
Letang,
said yeah.
Malkin, and
Okay,
Crosby.
perfect. I did not
The
mention.
squad.
That's right. That's right. I forgot to mention Letang when I was describing the event. But yeah, really in the sea of craziness that is 8 game nights and trying to stay up to speed and just following hockey, pure hockey, it was a really nice um, little treat, a little slice of rice for us. We enjoyed it. Um,
Slice of rice.
let's move on to injuries. We have a couple teams that we want to touch on here. And first is Connor McDavid in a embarrassing showing in Columbus. Connor McDavid on his first shift. The footage, I didn't spend too much time dissecting it. Some people are saying it's a inadvertent trip by Zach Werenski. Some are saying he lost an edge. I'm not. I'm going to play Switzerland on this one. But he is now officially out 2 to 3 weeks with an ankle injury. And we've said this about Edmonton for years, even with Bestie Leon there, is that when Connor McDavid isn't there, the team all kind of starts to fall apart, and they've been struggling of late anyway. But again, that embarrassing loss in Columbus a couple of days ago, and now they'll be without their captain for the next couple of weeks. Sarah, what is your take on the injury and then also the impact to a team that is currently out of the playoff picture and struggling in their own division?
Yeah, I think he just lost an edge there and it was extremely unfortunate, but it really highlighted how lost the team is without him. I mean, he's off to his worst career start, and even then, it's like what, over a point per game, but still the team looks totally lost without him. And when they aren't scoring offensively, like it, you can't have that happen because the defense is so weak. You look at the third pairing, you look at the need to shelter Darnell Nurse. No offense, but like I wake up every day wishing we did not have to shelter Darnell Nurse. I wake up every day wishing he was the best defenseman of all time. But unfortunately, he is not playing at par with the contract, and they're just so handcuffed that like they can't do anything other than try to find a right-handed defenseman that can complement him, and it's just not working out. So you need the high octane offense to work, and it's like, where the hell is Zach Hyman? Where is Ryan Nugent
Mm.
Hopkins? Where is there's so many players that I literally don't have points. You the milk carton on everyone, and you do look at the shot selection. It's not that bad. The shooting percentage is unlucky, but you it just shows how not dimensional this team is and how that's okay when you have the first and second best players in the world on your team, but that it's possible that they get injured. And then what? Then the team just isn't good. So it's extremely concerning.
We can't count them out because we all know what they did last year, but it is interesting. And you know what? Kudos to Columbus. They're playing some fun hockey. Who knows what they'll end up doing, but they deserve a little happiness here and there. And definitely Sean Monahan does as well. Another team, Shayna, that has been just ravaged by injury, gets some more bad news, and that is the Colorado Avalanche. First, Ross Colton is out 6 to 8 weeks with a broken foot, and I believe it was just yesterday we find out that Woods is now out 7 to 10 days with an upper body injury that he's been playing with. Lehkonen met with the doctor and will likely need some contact before playing. This is just not great news. Shayna, what is the current state of the Colorado Avalanche?
They're broken. They're so broken. It's unreal. And for with Ross Colton, it sucks in particular for Colorado because he's jumped up to that
Yep.
top line.
Yeah.
I was working on something about this for my monthly column, and then somebody broke his foot. But his
Rude.
number, I mean,
Think of the
everything's
column, Ross.
I've had to change so much in the last like 2 days. I'm like, did a month just pass, or is it just the early goings? But you look at it like I think they were rocking a 77% expected goal share with Colton, McKinnon, and Landeskog, my God, and Rantanen on the ice. They were crushing it, and that shift to wing was really great. It unlocked his game in a way that I don't think we've seen in Colorado so far. Yes, it hurts their third line a little bit doing it, but the top six is what you need to click right now just to outscore their problems, and they have many problems when Georgiev's in net. And now you take another hit. So it just feels like this is a team that can't afford it because the roster on paper is one of the deepest they've had in so long. If they could all be healthy and in the lineup at the same time, now that they're not, you need to stay afloat somehow, and your goaltender's just making life that much harder to do it. So any more injuries are just a total killer.
I don't know how they're going to hang on, but we'll see. You know, Nathan McKinnon can't do it all himself. It's not going to happen. Out of the injury box and into players who are playing and will be playing for a while, at least as of right now with their current team. We have some extensions to discuss. And Shayna, let's start in your backyard. Lafreniere signs an extension coming in a little tiny bit. He's at 7.45 AAV, just a little bit behind Uri Slafkovsky, both first-round picks, although Lafreniere has taken a little bit to really get to a point where he deserves this, but now he does. What do you think about this deal that keeps the young gun in a Rangers uniform for the future?
I think it's a really great deal for the player and for the team. I think that the team was smart to pay him sooner than later because I think that cost could have gone up into the eights if he kept up at this rate and he had a really strong start to the season. So definitely anything that just limits that because they're going to need every penny that they can save with Shesterkin's next deal. But for him, I think it's fantastic too. It just shows the growth in his game. You know, they shifted him to the right wing last year to give him top 6 minutes. And even though he had a terrible start, they just kind of let him cook with Panarin and Trocheck. And you see what a player he's become. He's not just a passenger on that line. He's such a good 5-on-5 player between his passing and his shooting that you're like, okay, something's there. It just took him longer to get there. And I think the opportunity in New York is a big reason why he didn't have that usual trajectory of a first overall pick. And the fact that he's doing this without consistent power play one time, I think is even better for the Rangers because that should unlock another element of his scoring if he ever gets a chance there.
Yeah, it's a good point because we're seeing teams perhaps setting a new trend this season in particular because we're starting to anticipate increases in the cap again, right? So our team's going to try and get some of their key players under a maybe more, what will be a more friendly deal now before every player and agent knows there's a lot more money to spend. But Sara, in a shocking turn of events, Vegas actually decided to keep a player around. No cutthroat trades happening. I didn't know what was going on. I was like, is upside down, up right side up now? But the Vegas Golden Knights have extended defender Shea Theodore. He's got a 7-year extension that might keep him in Vegas. Who's to say? Because they'll probably end up trading him in March. We never know. But do you like this deal for Vegas? And how shocked are we that they're keeping a veteran in the core?
I'm shaking. I don't know what to tell my children, but I guess it really does mean that he means a lot to this team. And I do think just look at, I wrote an article today that's like 7 teams that are going to have identifiable needs at the trade deadline. And it's 6 of the 7 teams, it's defensemen, like a top 4 sturdy defenseman. That's what Shea Theodore can do for you. That's what's like slim pickets in the market right now. So it's good to lock that down, especially knowing the market is about to raise with the cap, like we're talking about the prior contract. And I think that's a good contract for him. I think he stabilizes the top 4 quite nicely and he chips in offensively. So I'm here for it.
More defensemen committing to their current team, Shayna, and the Maple Leafs. We know they like to spend money. We're not even surprised by this, but Jake McCabe, another defender, as I said, signs a 5-year deal for 4.5 per year. We rarely talk about the Toronto Maple Leafs defense in any sort of positive manner. So what do you think about this?
It's interesting because I feel like now you're starting to see conversations like, well, the Leafs have to sign these guys to big contracts because they didn't know how to draft defensemen for so long. And you think of how players like Sandin didn't work out and how Liljegren is on, the trade block right now. But I look at this and I like the McCabe deal, right? I think he's a very good fit there. I think that, he's okay in an age range. But you look at the core around, like the defensive core around him, and you're like, they're handing out a lot of contracts to aging defensemen. And when you look at that for guys like Chris Tanev getting that long-term deal, you're like, that does not age well when you think of their playing style in mind. Someone like Oliver Ekman-Larsson had a bounce back year in Florida, but you don't know how that's going to work in Toronto, and you don't know how much he still has left in the tank either. So I look at all these deals at once, and I'm like, this is a lot of money to be committing while you're going to have these big money forward contracts with Nylander, with Matthews, potentially Marner, and who knows what they'll do with Tavares. I assume it'll be a shorter term deal, but still, it's a lot of money up front. I just worry about the age range of everyone. And it just reminds me like, oh, right, it's Brad Treliving running this team. And you look at some of the moves he made as general manager in Calgary, look at the state that they're in. It's because I feel like he bet on just players at the wrong times of their careers. And it's like, have you not learned that that can bite you, especially if they decline at all? I don't know. It just couldn't be me.
Shayna, you're asking if an NHL management team has learned something? I think the answer is
Especially when they
no.
leave a team and get handed a brand new job 5 seconds later. Why
No.
would you?
No.
I'm interrupting our flow for a second because we're in defender land. And so we were having this conversation the other day during our show about Carolina, because now that you have Ghost and Sean Walker on a pair, is the better
Yep.
nickname Ghost Walker or Walker Ghost?
Think Ghost
Ghost
Walker.
Walker. Yeah.
I love that pair too. That's two
I
guys that
know.
everyone goes, oh, they're so flawed. Like, yeah, watch.
They're ghost walking through the rest of the league because nobody saw it coming, apparently,
All
except
right,
Eric Telsky.
I will take that back to my team. Excellent. All right. A final bit O news we have is, folks, everything is happening. We have a trade to announce. The depleted Utah Yeti.
I'm triggered.
The depleted Utah Yeti have lost some key pieces on their back end. And so again, we're talking about defenseman Olli Maatta, who, with all due respect to you, Olli Maatta, I forgot you were still in the league for a hot second, is moving from Detroit to Utah for a third round pick. Shayna, good move, Band-Aid, or bad move?
In between good move and Band-Aid, because I think Detroit had too many men on defense. So they
They
could
had
have
what?
used they had way too many men on defense, one might say. So they needed to do something. I like Justin Holt, like, is he still in the AHL? He's not, he's on a contract and has barely played at the NHL level, and he had a multi-year deal. Like, what are we doing? There's far too many options there. So clear some out. They definitely need to. Crazy. They got a third round pick back when they got rid of Jake Wallman for nothing, though. I mean, it would have helped to have him. Look at what he's doing in San Jose. But good for Utah because one, they need help. And two, this is the big picture thing. This is the only reason I'm going to say it's good and not just a band-aid, is that ownership has given management the green light to go acquire players when they need them and to spend cap space when you need to do it. Your players are hurt. Okay, sick. Here's a replacement option. And I love that it feels like they're just unlocked to make moves that they have to make.
We'll see what Utah does. They've kind of been falling off a little bit, actually handing San Jose their first win of the season, and we'll talk about that in a little bit. But let's move on. Usually we have to talk about something bad happening on our shit list. But this week, Sara has brought to the table some anti-shit list news, and that is that, folks, hockey is growing. Every organization in the league now valued at least $1 billion. Sara, take us through it.
Yeah, that's the first time that has ever happened. And the Blue Jackets had like the biggest increase to get to where they are. And let me pull up some of the facts because I don't even remember what I did 5 minutes ago. I did not remember an actual fact.
So
Okay,
real.
so Sportico report said sponsorship and gate receipts represented nearly 6% of total NHL team revenue, which is a really good sign. It means that people are getting boots on the ground, asses in seats, and that the NHL is bringing in sponsors. Like that is great, great for us in a time where that's starting to happen. I think that's great for the players, great for the cap rising, and shows that we can have a legit sport. And the Columbus Blue Jackets got just over $1 billion with 1.06, 20% increase in value from 2023. And the three most valuable franchise remains the one you'd expect: the Toronto Maple Leafs, the Rangers, the Canadiens, and the Bruins. And the Kings jump over the Blackhawks to round out the top five. I think I was reading Sean Shapiro's Substack about this, and he's the best. Subscribe to Snapshots,
Slap
Shap
shots.
Shots, because
Shap
it's
shots.
Shapiro. Thank you.
Aha.
He was talking about how, I mean, these teams are worth whatever anybody will pay for them. And the Utah franchise sold for more than this. So I think they're actually worth more. But whatever, it can be confusing in inside baseball. For our purposes, it's a good thing. It means the game is growing and that some of the sponsorships that the league has taken on have been positive and productive. So that's good.
Shayna, you come with the strongest sports business background of the three of us. What are your thoughts on all of this?
It's growth, it's progression, it's a good thing. I mean, anytime that you see teams are worth more, it's a step in the right direction. But obviously there's way more room to grow. So I hope that like teams see this and say, look at the momentum we've generated despite doing, I don't want to say the bare minimum, but despite not playing to their ceilings. So what can you do from here? Like, how can you build on this and try to, make the NHL stay the fourth sport in North America, right? Because I feel like they're getting overshadowed by things like, I don't know, the WNBA. So, which personally love that, but you want to see, like, obviously we want to see hockey grow. We want to see teams valuations go up because the more it happens, it's a positive sign for hockey, and I think it'll open the door to more jobs and opportunities. So anything that they can do to say like, hey, we've done something good and not get complacent about it will be a good thing.
Indeed. Well, one of those teams that's at the top is a team we can't get enough of. So, Shayna, what time is it?
How does it affect my Leafs? Very passionate about this team.
You have the passion. You do
I
have the
can't get
passion.
enough. I love them, hate them. I don't give a shit. They're never boring. Like I need injected into my veins. I love this team. I love this franchise.
And we never, you know what, we never properly gave its due to reinforce that this is your team because they brought on an Oreo sponsorship.
I mean, you know
And
what?
milk.
It's something I was watching game the other night and they're wearing those black alternates that I mean, I love personally. I wouldn't want them as their home jerseys because the blue is their iconic color. And like I said, too many black jerseys. But they looked so sharp with the helmet with the Oreo logo. And I was gonna tweet about it. I'm like, stop, stop, stop. Like hold your breath, okay? It's just two things collaborating at once. It's directed towards me. I can't believe I have that jersey already, actually, so I don't need one. But if they want to send me a helmet, like I'll wear it on the pod. I want a helmet with the Oreo sticker. Like, please sponsor me, Toronto.
You deserve that.
Thank you.
All right. Well, they are Shayna's team. They are also the first team in the league to successfully beat the Winnipeg Jets. This was actually kind of a fun one. It wasn't kind of, it was a fun one on a good hockey night this Monday. They win 6-4 and they looked really good. Hellebuck did not have a great night, but Sarah, what, if anything, stands out to you about how the Maple Leafs are playing right now? And of course, they're going to make way too big a deal about the fact that they're the first team to beat the Jets, but doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, I mean, the Jets were due for a loss, but I do think the Toronto Maple Leafs are the most vibe-based team in the league, so I think it's good for their morale. I think it was funny. I saw somebody wanted to tweet the amulet worked against the 5G because the 5 goals, but they did end up scoring 5, so they didn't do the actual tweet. I thought that was hilarious if they had not scored 5. But I mean, I like to see a Tavares Patrick as much as the next gal. I think the vibes are good, but not really great. I mean, I'm confused about the goaltend. I mean, Stolarz looks great, but Woll certainly didn't. Is Stolarz the next number one goaltender? That's my question.
Are you saying their goaltending is woeful?
Oh my God. Here she
Maybe.
is.
You're
You're on
saying
a
that.
roll this
I'm
week, I
nodding.
swear.
Anyway, Shayna, I have covered a team that did go on a 16 game win streak, and I agree with Sarah. They say that teams that are on these big long win streaks, the cracks start to seep into their game long before the streak ends, and sometimes ending the streak is a good thing because it kind of gets you back to playing your best and focusing on playing your best. What are your thoughts on the Leafs beating the Jets? What should each team take from it?
That was a hell of a game.
It was.
I think one for the Leafs, it's you need secondary scoring. So Pacioretty was really good in that game, and I think
He had a great game.
right, and it's exciting to see it, especially after his last couple of years. But you see, like him with Tavares. Tavares is back as the 2C, and it all clicked for them. The amulet really got Tavares going, and it's like inspiring me. Like, should I get one? Is this what I need in my life to power through my work? Like, I don't know, but great for you there. Definitely keep up with it because they're not getting as much as they need. And also, I thought the power play finally looked a little bit more capable. They didn't cash in, but it's starting it's starting to show some signs of life, which I think will lead to results because they're too good not to be scoring on the power play. For the Jets, it was interesting because you really saw them start shifting around line combinations, which I feel like they needed to do for a while. Like Kyle Connor had an amazing game, and it's unfortunate that you lose a game that he scores a hat trick. He's such an underrated goal scorer, but I think of that Ehlers line with Perfetti and Nemestikov, and they've been scoring a shit ton, which is great for them because it has the two wingers that I think the Jets know they need to succeed for them to have a chance. But their underlying numbers were so dreadful to open the year, and I don't think they were going to get any better if they kept winning. And you look at it, they have some of the softer minutes of the Jets' forward lines. Like they're not going up against top competition. They're doing their best to shelter them, and they still weren't able to really push past it. That the scoring felt a little bit unsustainable. So hopefully, they can take a step back and try to figure out what they need to do, what tweaks they need to make, whether it's just changing the lines or maybe making a couple tactical adjustments to help the roster be at their best.
Going to be interesting. They play the Krakens of Seattle tomorrow. So what will they be about?
Hmm.
Let,
Mm-hmm.
let's stick.
Nice Canadian tour for the Kraken right now.
They played one game. They had
The
Wait,
tour, the
what
world
Montreal,
tour.
isn't it? But isn't it coming up? Don't they have Toronto and Ottawa coming up?
yes, but like we don't know if it's a nice tour yet. We hope it's a nice tour.
It's a nice. No, I'm manifesting that it's gonna be a nice tour. Wasn't it last year too? Like they rolled through Eastern Canada.
Last night was a Montour because he got a
Oh,
hat trick, the first hat trick by a defender this season in the NHL. A
here she is.
Montour in Montreal. How did I not get that in last night? Ugh.
You've been on such a roll. You have so many that are just like bursting at the seams that it's okay for one to get buried, but at least you got it now.
Do you know what I said on the pregame show? I said, you've got to keep your eye on Slavkovsky.
Wow. That's a crafty one. That's a very crafty one. How do you keep a straight? Do you keep a straight face? Because I don't always get to see pre-games. Like, were you like
Well, I mean,
completely
I was leaning into it. I'll say that much.
good?
Like, yeah, yeah. Sarah's over
Yeah.
us. Look at her.
You lost me, but I'm coming back. I'm coming back. What's
All right.
next?
Let's stick in the Atlantic. Arguably the most mid-division ever to exist. Going into last night, we had, what was it, 4 or 5 teams all stuck at 500. It seems like no one wants to really seize this thing. Sarah, I'm bringing you back in. Is the
Yeah.
Atlantic the most mid-division ever?
Yes. Oh God, I just feel like maybe everybody's good though. It's too
Mm.
soon to tell, but I do think like the Senators are last in the division and now they're in a playoff spot. It's actually kind of fun to watch just because on any given night the stakes are pretty high already. I think like I nobody accentuates this more than the Bruins, where it's like they're just good enough to win in an overtime and they're good enough. They have their players that are gonna elevate or whatever, but then they'll just lose the most annoying game of all time. They'll take 4 shots in a period, and it's kind of like it does feel like there needs to be a bit more effort around the Atlantic.
Try harder, please.
Yeah,
Shayna,
thank you.
is it the most mid-division or no?
Yes, 100%. Like the Panthers, I understand not being like completely lights out because they've had some really key absences, and I think they've done a good job like getting by for now. And the Leafs are still leafing. They still have their issues and they'll get there. It's okay. I have total faith in you guys. But like team like the Bruins, it stands out to me like, hello, what are you doing? You're one of the most mid teams around. They are not a contender at 5-on-5 at all this year on either end of the ice. Their penalty kill is not as good as it should be. And then you see guys that they brought in to make them be contenders like Lindholm and Zadorov, and they're not very good. Like no one's clicking there. So I feel like they're like the epitome of this division because to me, like going into the season, it's like, well, could we see 4 teams from the Atlantic? Could we see 5 if a team like Ottawa steps up? And now that they have Allmark back, it's like maybe they will actually, make some noise. Like I'm encouraged by them, but I don't know. I think everyone else needs to get the memo.
Well, to your point, if all these teams are good and are going to be fighting for a spot in the East for the playoffs, that means they're going to be going up against Metro teams as well for some wild card spots. And one Metro team that my question is, Sarah, the Washington Capitals. Are they good? They've lost just 2 games so far, and we know we're all on Ovi watch. Caps good, lucky, or both?
Here's both. And here's the thing. I mean, when you're lucky, it means you got good goaltending. Am I right, fellas? I think there's been such a theme of like McDavid in the Oilers or Matthews in the Leafs. Like when your top dogs aren't performing and the rest of the team has an opportunity to see what's going on, even Matthews in the Leafs, it's like I was encouraged by the Leafs start because Matthews wasn't really doing much. And then he enters the chat and it's electric again. And that's what's been happening with Ovi. It's like they can do it without him. Tom Wilson steps up, and then I think, I mean, I love the coach. I love the young vibes. Connor
Mm.
McMichael, I think you should have been there when your wife was in labor or your girlfriend. But you know what? That's actually none of my business. She probably said, come do the game. And that's a magical moment for both. I don't know. No, it's none of my business. But he got 2 goals. The vibes are good. The goaltending's good. The young kids are fun. And now Ovi has entered the chat. So that's scary for everybody. And I think they are genuinely good.
A team that might not be genuinely good, Shayna, is the Islanders. Just 3 wins in regulation, 6 losses, including some post-regulation losses, are the Islanders. And not only are they struggling in terms of results, there seems to be some drama potentially brewing. Walk us through what's going on with Patrick Waugh's comments post-game this weekend.
Yeah, everything is bad on Long Island apparently. They are going through it, and going into the year, like the biggest question for them really did feel like Sorokin's status, because there were so many question marks, like what is wrong with him? When did he have surgery? Will he be ready? And you weren't getting many answers, and now it's like, okay, so the goaltending's not the issue. The defense should be a strength, and it's not where it should be. And then the offense is way worse than expected. And it wasn't going to be good going into the year, but maybe it would have been enough to squeak by if their defense and goaltending could be as elite as their ceilings are. You lose Duclair, who I think was the perfect complementary signing for them, but they really needed like 2 Duclairs, because you see where they really lack in that middle six. And now you're shorthanded. And I think it's just created even bigger problems. Like they're still blowing leads. The penalty kill, which they're trying to be more aggressive like they were in years past and trying to model off the Canes a little bit there, has not been good at all. The power play, they wanted to have 2 units, which I think is the wrong move. It feels like they don't know what to do with that either at the moment. So everything's going south. And then on top of it, you have Saturday night, they didn't do the pregame availability with Patrick Roy, which you're supposed to do. I don't know what's happened there, but it was tweeted about that they didn't do it. And then post game, some of the comments from Patrick Roy weren't exactly encouraging, let's say, about, the moves that they have made, like signing Matt Martin. Lou thinks that's important for us, or, bringing Pierre Engvall. Lou thought it was a good moment for him to come back up. And while Patrick Roy said, there's no drama here, everything's fine, I could see why there would be. Like, this is a coach who came into the Islanders last year and said this, he is not the Patrick Roy of years past. He's not going to interfere with management. But I don't think there's anything wrong with the coach being like, we are struggling, and to play our best, could we look for something, without telling him outright, right? Like, I think that there's a way, if you're very collaborative, to be like, we're missing X. This would be the difference. And I don't know if Lou Lamoriello is someone who really takes those suggestions in.
You
So
don't think?
I wouldn't know. Everything's a cloud of secrets. So I remember this time last year, I wrote this silly little column about Lou Lamoriello and how I don't think he's the guy to lead the Islanders moving forward, because he does the same stuff every year and hopes for a different result. And I feel like they committed to this core and should try to go for it with this core, which means you have to be aggressive and have to get some scoring. I just think that Patrick Roy took the roster to its limits last year, and now the roster without Duclair is worse. And no, he's not done for the year, but you shouldn't be taking a step backwards. You should be adding, and then when he comes back, you have more reinforcements. So good fucking luck.
Imagine that. Like, it's just very simple. So I don't know what else we can tell him.
Well,
I'll page it over, send it through a fax machine. Maybe then the message will get through.
I did see him. I don't know. I'm gonna say it. I saw him in Vegas at the most exclusive place in Vegas that it takes like years to get on a guest list that I just happened to be invited to off a whim, and I thought it was
humble
hilarious.
brag there. Humble
If
brag.
he'd be, yeah, I got no, like I don't mean to brag. I just want to say, fucking Lou Lamoriello was there. Like, if he would be in the most place that nobody can get to, I'm like, is this a hologram? But he was there. So I'm gonna send a letter to them.
Was it like
At
a
least
cool
he's
place?
fun.
Was it like a cool
Yeah,
place?
it's the most hip and happening place in Vegas right now. Not like a club. I was not at the club with Lou Lamoriello. I was at a sit-down, delicious restaurant with Lou Lamoriello, and I just love that he was there. So nobody literally can reach him. You're not allowed to have phones out. That was hilarious. Anyway, moving
The
on.
perfect place for him.
Exactly.
Literally.
Exactly.
It's he probably owns the place. He probably
Yeah,
brought the place
secretly.
to life. Yeah, exactly.
He's going to pass it down to his son.
Nepotism in
Here
this
for that.
economy. All right. Another team that is not doing so well in the results, but may actually be fun is the San Jose Sharks. They struggled, folks. We're not going to lie about it. It was actually hard to watch some nights, particularly with Celebrini out of the lineup. He's week to week still with the hip injury. But they do storm back in the third period. They had how many goals? Like how many goals in 5 minutes? It was insane. And then of all people, a player who doesn't shoot much, Alex Wenberg gets the OT winner on the power play to get their first win over Utah. And then they won again. They're actually starting to be fun? Question mark, Sarah?
I know, I'm so pissed. I gambled on them to win because
I'm
Mario
so pissed.
Ferraro guaranteed a win. He said to reporters, Shang Pen reported before the comeback, the first win, that we are going to beat Utah tonight. I was like, damn, I kind of believe him because why would you say that? I bet on it. They were down 4-1. I cashed out 45 cents. They come back and win. I'm pissed. But I'm actually so happy because it was so much fun. Imagine it's your first period of watching hockey at all. You flip it on. Maybe you're in Utah because you're trying to catch a vibe with this team. Suddenly the Sharks do that. Then they win the next game. It's like, this is America's team. This is the best team in the history of the world. But it does go to show I love a narrative and I love a streak because it's so much fun. But it is like, I don't know. They're bound to win at some
Right.
point. It doesn't mean, I don't know. They're going to be bad. We all know that. I always say at least be very bad and let us have like a fun little storyline. So I appreciated that. I appreciate like how fun it is that they're winning now. Like their sellies were insane. That game was so fun and whatever. I love it.
Yeah, it's kind of like I was saying about the Blue Jackets too, right? Is that they're rebuilding. We know they're
Yeah.
not in a year where they're going to be good, but like they deserve to have some fun and like they're not all bad players. It just and like it's just a sucky situation. Shayna, was it fun to watch the Sharks finally get 2 wins and string them together in a row?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not just like it's good that they get those like good vibes, but they're staying in games till the end. They're not giving up on these games, which is huge. And like the Utah game completely showed that. To do this without Celebrini, like maybe there could be something there that you could actually be in games, and play competitive hockey once in a while and just surprise everyone and even yourselves. You see guys like Zetterlund thriving and Granlund. Mikael Granlund, I thought was completely washed when he was in Pittsburgh. He trailed off in Nashville, he trailed off in Pittsburgh, and I'm like, great, what are you going to do in San Jose? And you see even he's, picking up the pace. He's been on such a tear lately. So it's exciting, it's different. And, you remember like, here's a new coach, here's a new everything. You're going to be at the bottom for a while, but if you can start the building blocks and the fundamentals, which is in this league, goal scoring, right? If you
Yep.
can be a good offensive team, you can work on everything else to support that I think it's fun. It's fun that it's coming now and not just like, oh, the game, the season's over, here's 10 games, you're going to play disruptor. Like, no, make some noise right now. Why not?
Yeah. Why not?
Why not indeed? All right. We have one more spot for a team to discuss. I'm going to let you choose. Do we want to talk about the Hurricanes or the Lightning?
The Lightning, no offense, Hurricanes.
All
Yep.
right, the floor is yours. Let's go.
I think the Lightning might win the cup this year. Like, call me crazy. They
Wow.
look fucking insane. Jake Gensel on that first line, Braden Point. I know we talk about how underrated he is every single day for our entire lives. And I know he has had an impact in previous cup runs, but I just think he's reaching a new gear. He's reaching a new gear on the power play off it. Kucherov is continuing to Kucherov. Um, Up and down. Victor Hedman is even entering a new era, it feels. He's looked young as ever. I think he really appreciates being the captain and takes it seriously. And I don't know, it's like in the past few seasons, they aren't going away. They're taking their foot off the gas, but no, they're making it look easy and fun, and they're scoring a lot this year. And they look like they have this confidence that not a lot of teams have right now. So I'm really scared of them.
All right, so Steven Stamkos was holding them back. I see what you're saying.
Yes,
All
Yeah.
right.
I call them.
Shayna, agree or disagree? Lightning or cup bound?
Yeah, I totally agree. I love this
Oh,
for them because
spicy.
yeah, like the stars are starring, right? That is their strategy. Everything is
Yeah.
around their core. But I like some of the secondary players stepping up, right? Because you get Jake Gensel, a result is Brendan Hagel's going to move down and not bump up to that top line anytime soon, right? Which he played there a lot with Point and Kucherov. But now he's back with Sorelli. They are an excellent shutdown duo. They are going up against some of like the top forwards in the league. They go up against top competition on a nightly basis. They're not just shutting them down, they're driving play back up the ice. You have Hagel, who's sick off the rush. He's such a good winger. You have Sorelli, who I think we kind of waited for to have this Selke caliber moment and it never happened. Like, I wonder if maybe it can. And the line's cooking, whether it was Nick Paul on that line or now
Yes.
Connor Geekie, which you wouldn't have expected. You have the supporting cast to an extent. Like, the third pair is still bad. The bottom six, you still have your issues. But to have guys like McDonough back, it helps Chernak. You have someone like Moser who's stepped in and played a more important role than I think we could have anticipated. It really is, working out for them that I think if now you have the first line, the second line, the first pair, the second pair, if you can just figure out a way to get a small boost to the bottom of the lineup, like, watch out. And we didn't even mention Vasilevsky. Like, hello.
Can you imagine? Like, that's impressive. All right, you heard it here first. I'll call the other side. Stars Lightning final. Who says no?
I mean, I would not say no. The
I'm
NHL
in.
is like, don't do this to us again. But
I
like,
know.
please.
All right, let's wrap this one up with our favorite game, except for Steven, and that is Fuck, Marry, Kill. We're going to go through some teams. Might they actually be bad? Fuck, Marry, Kill these teams if they're actually bad. Sarah, you are all first. As always, your options are Pittsburgh, Boston, the Islanders. Go.
I gotta kill Pittsburgh. I wish I could kill the Islanders. You guys know that. Please come attack me. But I have to kill Pittsburgh. This is a pathetic team. I'm watching way too many of their games because I'm fascinated. It's like the goaltending. It's just so bad. They get up, they get down. Like,
Get up to get down.
yeah, exactly. They're in a competition. It's like they, as Sheldon Keefe famously said about the Leafs last year, they are beating them to watch. And I'm going to fuck the Islanders. Oh my God. Like, you, I guess I'll fuck them in the literal sense because they are mid, but you know what to expect. You don't have to like get dressed up. You don't have to like expect to be wowed. They're just going to keep their 0 goal differential. The one guy they get on the off season is going to get injured. Like, okay, yep. And I'm going to marry the what was the other
Bruins.
team?
Bruins.
The Bruins. Oh no! Oh God, no! I'm going to marry the Islanders. Okay, I'll just be mid with you for the rest of my life. I'm going to fuck the God. I'm like going to angrily fuck the Bruins to like get something out of them. I don't know. It's like every time they lose, it's a different way and it's pretty unenjoyable. There's just no heart, no soul. They expect Pasternak to just come in the clutch in overtime, and he does, but like get to overtime first.
Shayna, I don't know if you can top that, but here you go.
I
It's your
know.
time.
Wait, sidebar. Were either of you guys like big on the show Dexter?
No, I
I
heard
watched
it's good
some of it,
though.
but yeah, not.
Okay, so I just finished it. I'm watching this, like, that
How do
spin-off
you have
series
time?
because at the end
Seriously.
of the day, when games end, I can't sleep, that I have to like watch something to like decompress, and that has been it for me. So
Okay.
I've been terrible. I'm going to bed at like 3 a.m. every night because I'm insane, but like this is what I have to do, and it's because I'm watching this. But in that like secondary show that they did, they have a podcast involved in the show. It's like a murder podcast called Marry Fucking Kill. And I was like, wait, that's actually a cute podcast name. I love it. So I just thought you two would appreciate that.
That's great.
Um,
I do.
yeah, our game just taken by the world.
Ripped
But
from our souls.
it's unbelievable. But okay, well, this one sucks. So I'm gonna marry the Islanders because I feel like I can fix them. I think they need to divorce Lou, and I want to fix them. I'm very passionate about this. I know everyone thinks I just hate the Islanders and yada yada yada. Like, I watch all of your crappy games. I hate that I'm torturing myself doing it, but I am. Um, and I feel like that there is potential there with an elite goaltender and with players like Dobson and Barzell that I just feel like they need not to go back to necessarily the Barry Trotz era, but like a refreshed version of that. And they aren't, they're playing to the wrong strengths. So I look at them and I'm like, I want to commit to this and fix this with this core because they're so tied up in it, and see if I could do a better job. That's personally what I would want. This one's Ugh, I think I'm just gonna agree with you, Sarah. I'm going to fuck the Bruins. I don't want to, but like I feel like I could get through with that more than anything else because it's like maybe they'll turn it around. I think that Jim Montgomery is gonna be the first coach fired. I think he has a shelf life, and I think
Mm,
that's what's gonna turn them around. That's
Ooh,
my hot
okay,
take.
the takes, let's
Um,
go.
spicy.
Early, listen, I'm trying. Early in the year last year, I kind of thought the same thing because the Bruins were winning games, but they weren't dominating. I looked at them like that's you're supposed to be a contender, and I feel like your 5-on-5 play is kind of mid. Now it's completely mid to bad that I'm like, maybe that is a change we never knew we needed. So there's a little bit of potential there. And then I will kill the Penguins because I don't want to see Sidney Crosby suffer. I think he deserves better. He's given this team everything. And I almost look at it and I'm like, did they just let previous management do so much damage to this team that there was no fixing them? That was the point of no return because it's all bad. And the goaltending's wreck. The defense is atrocious. Like Eric Carlson does not look like Eric Carlson. It's the worst season of his career that I'm like, I don't want to watch this anymore. Please stop torturing me.
Well, in honor of Brandon Montour, I'm
Seriously.
I'm going to complete the too many men hat trick. I have no changes. I
Let's
agree.
go.
All I can say is I cannot emphasize enough what you both like. Pittsburgh, it hurts me to watch them right now. And this is like a slow, spiraling, painful death that brings me no joy. And it's sad. So fix that. Get on that,
All of it. Because even when they're
Kyle.
fun for 1 second, right? Like the game against the Oilers Saturday. Was it Saturday? Friday? I don't
I don't
know.
know. Time's a flat
Time's a flat
circle.
circle. But like Bloomquist had such a good start, and you're like, holy crap, they're actually staying in this game. And then they just fall apart. That you're like, I just wasted 40 minutes of my life on this.
Seriously.
I tweeted yesterday about what a good game Jared McCann was having, and someone responded with "Thanks, Kyle Dubas," and tagged him, and I was like, "Oh, geez, poor Kyle." All right. Well, that will do it for us. We so appreciate you hanging out with us, listening, and sharing your thoughts, which you can always do on the social. We are at 2_much_man on the Twitter and on the Instagram. If you'd like to rep us outside of listening to the pod, you can always get some merch. That's at too manymenmerch.com. We don't take any of that money. We turn that money around and we donate it to causes and people doing things like we ask you all to do every single day. And that is something, no matter how big or small, to make sure that hockey truly is for everyone. We will talk to you soon.
Love you.
Bye. Love you, but not the Penguins.